My mom squeezed everything she could out of my dad during the divorce when I was 15. I just found out now. I'm 29. My mom and dad got divorced when I was 15. I had no idea what was going on at the time. I sorta was confused at why they got divorced. But my dad recently told me that my mom hid bills from him and racked up $75,000 worth of credit card debt and forced them to go bankrupt. She filed for divorce without telling him when we were all living under the same roof. She then got a really good lawyer and tried to get full custody of us. There are so many other things that were bad, but this is one of the worst things I could have found out. The worst part is, she left him for another man who later became my stepdad, who me and my sister hated. The good side is, my sister and I got to spend half of the time with each of my parents when it was finished. They lived 20 minutes away. It's weird finding this out 15 years later. This changed the whole perception I had of my mother, and now I don't feel like talking to her. I think she might be sociopathic. It seems like she doesn't care about anyone but herself, and it sort of confirmed some of my suspicions about her character. It hurts tremendously because my dad has the biggest heart ever. So much so that he didn't tell me until now. He seems to have accepted all this, but I can't. At least I can't look at my mom the same way. I feel like she deceived all of us. I wish he told me earlier. But he had PTSD from Vietnam and was on antidepressants and still has a hard time sleeping sometimes. So there are some mental issues he has to deal with. I wish he was more open to me about that when I was growing up, at least around 16, so I could feel for him. He sort of kept a lot of stuff secret to protect us in my estimation, but it ended up hurting him because I couldn't empathize with him. I sort of viewed him as a mystery and inadequate because I didn't know he was suffering. I don't know, I just wish I had known sooner so I could adjust my behavior. Sometimes it made me treat him as the wrongdoer when my mom was actually the wrongdoer. I would have treated him so much better, I believe, if I had known more. I felt really angry toward him for not talking about it. It made life harder for him because I thought he was just mysterious. Honestly, if I were him, I would have told me 10 years ago at most. Not wait till I'm 29. It completely altered the perception of my mom, who over the past 10 years, I confided in, asked for life and relationship advice from, and talked to regularly. The regret that I feel from letting my mom impact my life choices is the hardest part for me personally. Finding out I confided in someone who turns out to be a sociopath is really, really bad. I feel like I've been duped. It could have been prevented if he told me years ago. I took shit out on my dad when my mom was really the one being a narcissist. Hiding bills and racking up debt, my dad was better with money than her while he made less than her. She had a bigger income and she still took from him. My dad helped us with college while she didn't offer a dime. I confronted my mom about it and she sort of just dismissed it. Her arguments didn't hold up at all. When I confronted her about specifics, it seemed like she paused or something. I could sort of sense that she was afraid. She immediately got angry at me and wasn't willing to talk about it. My dad gave cold hard facts with numbers and amounts and dates and objects. My mom just said, "Oh really? Well, that's your dad's perspective." Perspective? He's giving me figures. She's not. My gut is telling me she's not fessing up. She was a very detached mother. My dad was much more present emotionally and invested in the well-being of my sister and I. My mom often would take advantage of my dad's good nature because she knew that if she didn't do something for us, she could count on him to do it because he cared more. My ex-wife had an affair and blew up our family and life. The kids are still young, but I know the day will come when they get curious as to what happened. I don't plan on sugarcoating it. This is the toughest thing as a divorced father. My kids are 5 and 9, and it takes everything I have to not break down and explain to them what was really going on. They saw the arguments. They didn't see the thousands of broken promises. The "I know I need to" with no actions. All the lies, discarding, minimalizing. All the times I talked with her and nothing ever changed. Never any action, until an argument. Then it would change for a few days. Just the arguments. My kids, especially my older one, see me as the bad guy. Blames me for the divorce. I sometimes wonder how they would feel if they knew. Or if they would kind of figure it out one day. Or if they'll go through life just oblivious to everything. My parents got a divorce last year. There were no kids to get custody over, so thank God that wasn't an issue. But my mother ended up getting the house. My childhood house is a really nice house. I won't go into detail because that's not the point. The point is, my mother got the house, it's been paid off, plus she demanded to get a monthly allowance. My dad had been struggling financially ever since. He's going to be 70 soon and I have so much pity for him. I absolutely hate the privilege that some women have in court. I had a similar, but less dramatic, realization about my parents. Growing up, my dad was always the short-tempered one, my mom was always the caregiver. We grew up loving our mom and afraid of our dad. Once I reached my 30s, my dad talked a lot more about life in general and it was easier for me to be friendly with him, like a peer. He recently told me that my mom didn't want to have sex with him for pretty much the entire marriage, and only did so to get pregnant with kids. After 2 kids, she pretty much said that's it and shut off all sexual contact. He said that in his late 40s, he got a medical prescription for heart medication, which killed his own sex drive, and he viewed it as a huge relief so he could stop fighting that part of his personality. I felt terrible for him, and I'll never look at my mother the same way. Within a year or so, I had divorced my own wife after our sexual compatibility problems became too clear to ignore. I'm sorry my dad had to go through that history, but I'm glad he told me because my reaction to his suffering helped me get clear and free more quickly. I could be your dad. I'll never ever tell them about her character flaws, the cheating, abuse, etc. They'll have to learn that for themselves. Up until then, I'll be the villain in their eyes. Feeling for you and sending you lots of love. Same age but my parents were divorced at 12. My dad cheated on my mom but honestly their marriage was broken way before. My mom is also a giant spender and kept forcing my frugal dad to spend on private schooling for us. After the divorce she kept talking bad about him and it's only now I see how crazy she is. She's bankrupt now while my dad is safe with my really nice stepmom. She keeps putting herself into more debt and is driving everyone away. I totally understand your disbelief. I feel so regretful of always believing my mom about my dad. My whole childhood I had so much turmoil about my dad because my mom was angry with my dad and took it out on us. Now I look back and he's actually an amazing dad. Never said anything about my mom and is the dependable parent. Use this as a lesson in never getting married. Like, comment, subscribe.